All right. All right. So we go for some more West Coast action, figuring out how this Pacific division will look like. But as it turns out, I guess I'm just going to do a whole rivalry thing here. We've got you guys down in here to talk maybe the preview of the division, but I guess some rivalry. JablamSports.com, season 7, episode 1, and covering for my guests, covering Seattle Kraken and Seattle sports for the Associated Press is Tim Booth. You can reach him on Twitter at by Tim Booth. He writes for the Canucks, Brady Trettenero. You can find him on Twitter at Brady Trent. And of course, an analyst covering the Seattle Kraken, my pal, Nick Gismondi, is back. And gentlemen, it's interesting. Are we going to see a rivalry? I guess when's the first date? October 23rd between the Canucks and the Kraken. Brady, do you think Vancouver fans are kind of happy to maybe have a closer rivalry, I would say, than some of the Canadian teams?
I think so for sure. I think it's going to be great to have it right across the border there. The Canucks have kind of been looking, I think, for that rival that's within distance. They've had those playoff rivals, the Bruins, the Blackhawks and such, but it's going to be great to have kind of this regular season rival on a consistent basis.
And Tim, we just saw the new captaincy signing. They gave him the C. That's Mark Giordano, who is already a kind of a rival for the Canucks. Pretty interesting. Named the new captain.
Yeah, no, he was kind of the it was thought that he was going to have that from the moment that they took him in the expansion draft, just because of all of the time he spent in that role with Calgary. So it was kind of it felt like a little bit of a no-brainer decision once they decided to go forward with actually having a captain in the first season. But yeah, that feeds into everything that goes along with sort of this the potential of this rivalry to be between the Canucks and the Kraken. And I think, as hopefully the border becomes easier to cross in the coming months, I think that'll only ramp up the potential for, having Vancouver fans trying to come down and make their way into Climate Pledge Arena for a game, and having Kraken fans trying to make their way up and get into Rogers Arena for a Canucks home game. So I'm looking forward to seeing it develop. I know that for a long time, the Canucks were in some ways trying to get into the Seattle market to see if there was the potential of tapping into the fan base here. And now that the Kraken are here, that just only adds into another layer of the possible depth of the rivalry.
Nick, do you think some of the fans who might be Canucks fans in the area will totally switch, or how are they going to react now?
Yeah, I don't know. I've been kind of trying to gauge that. I've really only spent about 7 days in Seattle. Everything sort of happened at a little bit of a accelerated clip for me, jumping in with these guys. And what I've seen is very passionate fan base in Seattle already. I mean, you get off the plane and it reminds me of when I started with Vegas. I was in Vegas the first 2 seasons, and it was this level of excitement, and you see it everywhere. So I think that if you're in Seattle, it's going to be very difficult to not be a Seattle Kraken fan. I don't know as though many folks north of the border will be jumping ship, but there's an excitement for a new team and a new logo and sort of a fresh beginning. And you're not necessarily being called a bandwagon fan if you're getting on with a ground up team. So I think that there's a lot of potential for this organization to be successful. And I saw it in Vegas, and I was blown away by it. It was my first ever experience, up close and personal with an expansion franchise. And I just was blown away by the fan base there. And I'm getting the same vibes in Seattle. I really am. I mean, they sold season tickets out, I think, in 12 minutes or something like that when they had the ticket drive. So what the Oakview group has built and what Ron Francis and Ricky Olczyk have done is just this level of excitement that is just groundswelled to what I think is going to be really, really something excellent. And I do think that there's a built-in rivalry there. Anytime you're that close to another organization, I think you'll see it. I think it'll take a little while, but I'm also gonna throw out there. I think that there's a sleeper rivalry out there for Seattle as well. And we'll wait and see how that develops. But tonight might tell a tale as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, watch out. Maybe I'll do some hockey domus action here and pitch to the Quebec people. Hey, if there's a team relocating, watch out. Nick might go there next.
Listen, I was worried. I'm worried. I'm getting a little bit of a suitcase reputation around the league, so I'd like to stay in Seattle for the foreseeable future, if possible. Like I said, I don't need another box of logo gears. So if anybody wants some Vegas Golden Knights or Chicago Blackhawks logo merch, I've got it going cheap right now. So I'm going to try to hang in tight with Seattle for a while.
All right. Tim, I want to touch base back with you with the whole Giordano thing. You said it was a no-brainer, and I think we all did. But at the first sign, when Giordano was selected, he was kind of irked at maybe going there. I guess he's just the tradition. He's the captain of the Flames. Now he's going there. But with the no-brainer, was there even a remote chance or somebody else that could have gotten it?
Could have gotten the captaincy.
Yeah.
Maybe Jordan Eberle. He probably would have been the next one to jump to mind. He's going to be an assistant captain. Jaden Schwartz, kind of the same deal. Eberle probably would have been the one if it hadn't been Giordano, but he's got so much experience with what it takes to be in that role, and there's going to be so many different obstacles that they experience in this. I mean, heck, we're talking on the day of the opener, and they're experiencing one with guys in COVID protocol. So, and they're going to be down their top line center tonight, it seems like. So it sure seems like he's the perfect option for that, because he's been through so many different things with Calgary, successes and failures, and how to deal with that in that role. And so he's the perfect guy to sort of build around and lean on as they kind of establish this leadership group for this first season, and then develop it from there as they get guys who come up through their system and are part of the core group going forward.
Yeah. You mentioned the COVID protocol. They already had Yanni Gord on the IR. Now the forwards, Jared McCann, Jonas Donskoy, Marcus Johansson, Jamie Alexiak, the big guy on the back end, are all on the list. And of course, they had already had Kalle Yarncroc on the list since last week. Nick, they even went up. A good thing they picked up Barry Boulette for the team. So who's gonna fill in all these roles right now for opening night?
I'm actually catching a flight to Seattle. Ricky Olczyk called me and asked me my jersey size, so I'm gonna take a spot on fourth line left wing, my off wing. So we'll see if I can't maybe do a little something for the boys tonight. But I'm just kidding. But no, I don't know. Listen, not great timing, obviously, for a lot of reasons. But I do think that they're deep. I just think that it's a tough. I mean, listen, it's gonna. I've been saying since this thing started, it's an opportunity to write their own story. Vegas had quite the start to their franchise when they kicked things off for tragic reasons. And what they did was they used it as an opportunity to put themselves together and step up to the plate and go do something special. And I got to imagine that the mentality is that tonight for these guys. We're stepping into the last team that came into this league. It's the loudest building in the NHL. We have a bunch of new guys that have never even met before in some circumstances, and a lot of guys stepping up to potentially play in one of their first NHL games. So you're going to be gripping the stick a little tighter. I think the first period is going to be an interesting testament to what the fortitude of this group is. And I do think that there are guys that can do it. And I think that they do have a strong veteran presence and some leadership there that can kind of get them through something like this. And again, I think that there are some hidden gems on this team. I'm a huge Vince Dunn fan. I really like Hayden Fleury. I think Morgan Geekie is going to be a surprise and could be a Jonathan Marchessault type of maybe hidden gem in there. So there are guys that can step up, no doubt. But I mean, it's going to be a test tonight. The timing is not great, but I like the makeup of this team. I really, truly do. And I like the pull themselves up by the bootstraps mentality that they've sort of had. It's not the misfit mentality that we saw with Vegas, I think guys were irked when they started in Vegas. I don't think these guys are so much irked. I think these guys are, every single game this night, there's another guy that's got something to prove. And I think they're going to feed on that. And tonight's no different.
All right. I'm sorry, Brady. You've been waiting there forever. Let's go to the big signings in Vancouver there. Quinn Hughes signs a 6-year deal, 7.85, the highest cap hit on the team. After the preseason, looks like OEL and Myers are probably going to be a pair. Who's going to be paired up with Quinn?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're definitely going to experiment with it. The thing with Quinn is that he's definitely he takes a lot of offensive risks, and they need somebody. They've been trying to find somebody who can kind of balance that out and let him take those risks. Because I know he gets a lot of flack in this market for his defense, and he's trying to improve on that. But it's tough when, you're known for your offense and you've got to kind of, worry about the defense as well. And you don't really have a lot of guys there to kind of support that out. And losing Alex Edler this offseason was obviously really tough. I think he was, great. And Hughes really thrived with Tanev as well, who's now in Calgary. So they're going to experiment a bit. I don't think it's locked in right now. I think, that shutdown pairing is probably going to be OEL and Myers, and they're just going to experiment for Hughes. Losing Travis Hamonic as well, as that recent news came out. That's a tough blow. We're going to see what develops there. And I know it's some personal stuff going on with Hamonic. But I mean, I think they're definitely in some trouble here defensively if they don't get things figured out.
Offensively, they also signed the other superstar, and that's Elias Pettersson, a bridge deal, 7.35. Interesting. Is it seem kind of high for a bridge deal though?
I mean, it's a bit high, I think, but at the end of the day, they were going to need to find a way to pay him no matter what. And he was obviously, looking for a lot of money, and he was going to hold out until he got it. And I mean, he's worth it when you really look at the numbers and you see what he's been for this team and how important he's been. The question is just his health a little bit, as he's had trouble staying healthy. He's obviously a bit of a smaller guy, so he sometimes gets thrown around a bit, but I think, he's got to bounce back. And I think he knows that, signing this deal is going to be a lot of pressure on it. I think you're right there. It's a bit high, but at the end of the day, I think he's going to end up being worth it.
All right, let's go to prediction time. I know you guys hate it, and we will have on the website prediction lists of where we think we might have teams in order, but we'll go to these two teams specifically. Tim, it's interesting enough. We looked at the odds, and looks like the Kraken are like second considered to finish second in this division. I guess Canadian teams are really bad. But are they really the second best in this division already, possibly to get that spot after who?
I don't think they're the second best in the division to start off. I think you got to go with Vegas and Edmonton, and then go from there and figure out where Seattle falls in. The one thing Seattle has is they have cap space. And I think as we get into the season, scoring is going to be the issue for this team. But because they have that cap space, they can go out and make a move if they're sort of on that cusp of contending for maybe that second spot in the Pacific, to go out and find a score sometime, before the trade deadline.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're probably the fourth best team in the division. Me personally, I think they sneak into the playoffs this year, which it would be a huge win. I mean, there's no way you can go in with the idea that they're going to be Vegas part 2. But for them to come out, be competitive, be in a playoff race, be in contention for that, I think is huge for helping to develop the market and develop the fan base in the first year. So I think it's Vegas, Edmonton, maybe Calgary or Vancouver in that third, and Seattle maybe all grouped together, 3, 4, 5, something like that. And then the California teams that are really in a full rebuild mode. That's how I look at the Pacific going into the first year.
All right. Now we go to my optimistic Nick. I know you have good things to say about the team. Where do you have them as number one? I can't hear you.
Sorry about that. No,
It's
no,
okay.
I am an optimist. No, I'm not that optimistic. I am firmly putting them in. I am firmly putting them in the playoffs, though. I do think that they have what it takes to sort of get into that last spot. I'm with Tim a little bit, though. I've got Edmonton. I've got Edmonton and Vegas kind of in that 1 and 2. Vegas is, the cream of the crop. They're going to be good this year. Edmonton in that second spot. I like Calgary. I just think that there's a ton of question marks on the back end there for those guys. And that's sort of where I flip flop those guys. I think it's going to be, Seattle, Calgary in that third spot is kind of how I see it. And then, kind of going off of what Brady said, if they can figure things out on their blue line, then yeah, they're going to be in the mix, but a little shaky at the moment. So I've got it. If I'm picking it right now, I'm saying it's Vegas, it's Edmonton, it's Seattle, and then I would go. Then I would go Calgary, Vancouver, and then I think LA is the best of the California teams this year. A little bit of favoritism for my boy Kopitar there, but that's sort of kind of how I would balance it out. And listen, the way that this Seattle team is built, if they get into the playoffs, they're built for the playoffs. It's goaltending, strong defense up the middle. And Tim's right. They are 100% going to grab somebody high-powered offensively. There's going to be a lot of guys available. Ron Francis has got deep roots throughout the league. So does Ricky Olczyk. Both of those guys are highly respected. They will be able to pull a big-name surprise player offensively if they need it. And I wouldn't also be surprised if you see an extension for Gio here as well as a result of that captaincy.
I'll have you guys later on in the season, depending on who they bring in. That'll be interesting. And of course, everybody's saying Edmonton so far. Damn it, Leaf fans are upset. Zach Hyman's going to get 40 goals next to McDavid or Draisaitl, isn't he? Oh, man. All right, Brady, where do you get the Canucks and the rest of your division so far?
I like what these guys are saying about how the Pacific. I actually happen to agree with them on kind of where they slot in the teams. I think you got to put Vegas at the top just based on what they've done in the Pacific so far since entering the league. Losing Fleury is obviously tough, but Leonard's a capable starter there. They return all their key pieces, but I think Edmonton could definitely push them for that top spot. So I got Edmonton second as well. And any team with McDavid and Draisaitl is going to have sky high potential. Little concern about the goalies that they're still riding that tandem, but it is what it is when you got that offense. And then, third, that's tough. Like, I think, kind of what Tim was saying and stuff about how that could really be, Seattle, Calgary, or Vancouver. It's kind of a little crowded. I like Seattle, but I have the same concerns about offense. I really like the blue line. Getting a Vezina finalist goalie is huge. That's going to be, their backbone. So I'll put Seattle in third, and then I do have the Canucks as making the playoffs. I think they just edge out Calgary because I think they're due for a bounce back with that top six. I think if a rookie like Podkolzin can make an impact, and maybe a newcomer like Tucker Poolman on the blue line turns out to be better than expected, or they just get a couple surprises from a few guys, I think that's what it's going to take to get them back into the playoffs. So I'll put the Canucks there at that fourth spot.
All right. You can find the rest of the lists on jablamsports.com. Episode 1 for season 7. Again, you can find them on Twitter at Nick Gismondi for Nick, at Brady Tret for Brady, and at by Tim Booth for Tim. Experts, thank you for stopping by, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Peter.
Always a pleasure.
All right.